Welcome to the VetFarm Network Podcast, where we highlight agricultural programs, resources, and real stories to support veterans in farming. Whether you're just getting started or looking to grow your operation, this podcast is here to help you connect the dots. I'm your host, Kate, and today we're talking with Brianna Goode, Farm to School Coordinator with the Division of Nutrition and Physical Activity for the Indiana Department of Health. We'll be digging into what farm to school looks like in Indiana and how farmers, especially those just starting out, can explore opportunities to sell to schools. If you're a veteran farmer looking for new markets or mission aligned partnerships, this episode is for you. And don't forget, our Veteran Farmer Conference is coming up this July in Shipshewana, Indiana. Thanks to Hoosier Uplands, discounted tickets are available for veterans and their caregivers. Visit vetsinfarming.com for more details. All right, let's dive in. Well, welcome to the show. Can you briefly explain what the Indiana Farm to School program is and what your role is like there on a day-to-day basis?
Great. Yeah. Thank you for having me today. The Enneagram for Schools Network is really a collaborative effort that fosters the relationships that are necessary to sustain farm to school initiatives in every Indiana county. So we support local farmers and school communities as we really forecast the emergence of agricultural leaders who truly are understanding or building their understanding for the interconnectivity of food systems, which we hope would result in healthier families, communities, and economies. So through this work, we work as a team to really expand and enhance different initiatives that get more locally grown food into the school menus, establish school gardens, and weave engaging nutrition and agriculture education into already existing classroom curriculums. So we're thinking about students connecting with the land, learning where their food comes from, and also developing a profound appreciation for the farmers who feed us here in the state of Indiana.
So I've seen some of the great stuff on your website and social media for, fruit and vegetables of the month, things like that. But what kinds of products are Indiana schools typically looking for from local farms? Are there certain products that you've seen, year after year are kind of big sellers and things that cafeterias like to use?
Yeah, it's really incredible to see such a wide variety of farmers and operations that are involved here in Indiana with the farm to school movement. We have operations that are selling through broadline distributors or food hubs. Names like Fisher Farms and Lobenstein's Family Fresh Farm, Hawkins Family Farm, they're making sure that they're getting their products to schools all across the state, including local produce and protein on a regular. So they're pushing into a food hub or broadline distributor type format. And then we have independent farmers. That would be farmers are like Waterman's and Kurt's Farm, Beasley Orchard, just to name a few, who are selling directly to schools week in and week out. They're forming those relationships, maybe doing some forward contracting with food service directors to build that relationship and make sure that they are provided with those products throughout the year. We also have some small farmers who may not be delivering every day, but as you mentioned, those harvests of the month, they may play that special role in getting a product to the school once a year or once a month. They help with those one off events. And oftentimes, they will be able to be the ones to push in for a farm to school visit or host a farm tour at their farm. We also have some hydroponic farmers who are supplying schools with fresh local greens all year round. So even in the dead of winter, they're able to provide those beautiful fresh greens for the salad bars or maybe a cheeseburger, hamburger topping. And then we also have schools who are buying directly from their student groups. So students from places like Paoli High School or Indian Creek High School, I think even Greenwood High School, they are really leaning into that um, grower supplier with their students being the growers and supplying the cafeteria with the fresh produce and proteins. When it comes to like what are the popular products, or we'll say, well, farmers often ask us, what are schools looking for? When we look at the USDA 2023 Farm to School Census, it shows us that our top products here in Indiana were apples, beef, and lettuce. Those were some big hitters there over the last couple of years. And that really aligns with some of our top sellers that we had in our 2023 USDA Local Food for Schools program as well. But outside of that local food for schools program and outside of that census data, We see other popular products such as cherry tomatoes. Those are really easy to just throw on a salad bar, or they take minimal processing. Sweet corn is another popular one here in Indiana, and we'll be celebrating that with Indiana Food Day this year. Greens, honey was very popular, and herbs add a little bit of support there with our sodium decrease. They can add a little bit of extra flavor to the food. So it's really neat to see that diversity of farmers and products making their way into the school meals and really nourishing the next generation of Hoosiers.
That's awesome. I know when we participated, we were a really tiny farm, mostly livestock, poultry based. And so we didn't have enough supply to, send beef out to the entire state. But we were able to participate in a way of sort of taste testing. So we provided a couple items for a local school to use just to kind of expand students' palate to try different things that were like nutrient dense foods like beef liver or things like that. So um, you mentioned a little bit some larger farms, but are there some smaller farms that could participate in, coming into the classroom or doing a field trip or that kind of thing, if someone, doesn't have enough apples to supply an entire state?
Yeah, of course. There are quite a few different opportunities that producers can get involved with. As we mentioned, or as I mentioned before, we have our harvest of the month. Those allow for a one time a month taste test. It could be a classroom activity, getting that product into the school meal program. We also have had some smaller farms who are not maybe don't have the capacity to feed the entire cafeteria, but they host the students at their farm for a farm tour. I know Monroe County Community Schools, excuse me, they um, have their third grade students visit farms throughout Monroe County um, that may not be not supplying to the school for their lunch program, but the students are able to learn about sustainable agriculture. They have other Purdue Extension comes in and visits. So there's a lot of partnerships and collaboration that can take place to really make sure that these students are understanding not only where their food comes from, but also how it can nourish their bodies.
That's wonderful. So if a farmer that's listening is interested in getting started, what are the first steps they should take?
That's a great question. So, if you're a farmer and you're looking to tap into this huge market potential of selling your products to schools, there are some steps that you'll want to take to get started on the right foot. So, first and foremost, I highly recommend reaching out to our farm to school value chain coordinator, Anna Holloway. She is an absolute wealth of knowledge when it comes to navigating the ins and outs of selling to schools. She has a ton of firsthand experience in this space and really can provide our producers with valuable guidance and insights to help them succeed. It's not just an email or a call. She'll be at the farm, she'll walk with you every step of the way. Another critical step that Anna would direct them to do, and any of us at the network, would make sure that the farmers who are interested in that school market are going through the Produce Safety Alliance grower training, also known as PSA training. And this really just provides a good foundation and starting point for selling to schools. So if a farmer hasn't gone through that training, I would suggest putting it on the farmer to-do list. And the school market is really a massive opportunity for farmers, but there's certainly boxes that will need to be checked in order to tap into that. But connecting with Anna, looking into that PSA training are two of the most important things I think that you could do to really get that ball rolling.
And I'm sure it really depends on what you're selling and whether you're selling chicken or
Right.
apples. But are there any key food safety or processing requirements that kind of come to the top of your mind, that farmers need to be aware of?
Yeah, so when it comes to getting fresh, locally grown food from the farm to the cafeteria, there are some important food safety regulations and requirements to keep in mind. So while there aren't any specific state regulations for selling unprocessed produce like fruits and vegetables directly to schools, it is a good idea for schools to check in with their local health department, or producers can also check in just to make sure they're not missing any key requirements or considerations that are specific to that area or region. So many schools also ask farms if they have a gap audit, a farm safety plan, or if they have taken that PSA training, as I mentioned earlier. While those are not required, sometimes our schools have policies that are put in place to make sure that they are checking the boxes for food safety. So those are just some great ways for the farms to show that they're using safe growing and handling practices. If a farm wants to sell eggs, that's a kind of a specific product to schools here in Indiana, the state egg board actually likes to do an in-person walkthrough the farm first. When it comes to meat and poultry, those products need to be processed at either a USDA or state inspected facility before they can be sold to schools within the state. So while the regulations are really fairly minimal, especially for produce, there are some of those key safety requirements and best practices to follow to make sure that schools are serving the kids safe and healthy locally sourced meals.
So it sounds like if people are interested, they just kind of give you a call, and you guys very enthusiastically walk them through the process. But are there any other resources or support that your office provides that might help farmers or schools make these connections? Like, are some schools um, more active and wanting to connect with local farmers, or is this sort of across the board in Indiana? All school systems are doing this.
So we have a variety, just like we have a variety of different producers who are interested. We have a variety of different schools coming at farm to school with a different approach. Some schools are really looking to find local with their broadline distributor. And some schools are looking to make that forward contract to make sure that they're connecting directly with a producer and making that sale. So it really can vary. But when it does come to connecting school food buyers with our local farmers, our network is here to help pretty much every step of the way. So we have a team that works here at the Indiana Department of Health. We connect with the Indiana Department of Agriculture and Indiana Grown. We connect with the Indiana Department of Education and have roles within that to really make sure that we're providing support to every party that's coming together here when making that farm to school sale. So we understand that navigating that world of local procurement or local purchasing can be daunting at first, and there are a lot of moving pieces to figure out. But as I mentioned, fortunately, we have a team of experts who are ready to guide both the producer and the school through that entire process. So we really help connect the farmer and the producer to the school and think through the logistics like transportation, how we talk to the school on how can those ingredients be processed. Do they need to be processed before they arrive at the school, like turning whole carrots into carrot coins? What facilities can we point the producer to or the school to? How can we provide training and make that happen? So we also have a variety of recipe ideas for schools on how they can incorporate more fresh, raw, unprocessed foods into the school menus. And of course, it's critical for us to follow the USDA procurement regulations when we're sourcing local foods with our schools. So we make sure that both producer and buyer understand those rules. And then if any additional support is needed, the Indiana Grown for Schools website is also a very useful resource. We have things like procurement toolkits. We have a map of local producers that is getting right now a facelift so that it can be even more useful for our producers. They're not just added to a map and left there, but they're provided with support and technical assistance along the way to make sure that they are able to find a market that fits best with them. We also have customizable flyers so that schools have an opportunity to promote farm to school and where their products are coming from. And then, of course, links that will direct different stakeholders to our national and state partners who have a little bit even more expertise to share when it comes to farm to school and local procurement.
And I think it must have been less than a year ago, but we did a longer webinar for the VetFarm Network, and you really dove into a lot of these topics. So I know that's available on our YouTube channel if anyone wants to kind of get more background information about the program. But is there anything else you'd want a veteran or beginning farmer to keep in mind if they're exploring this opportunity? Maybe they don't have the orchard yet, or a thousand chickens yet, but they want to kind of build this into their business planning. Is there anything else that you would suggest for them?
I would just suggest to reach out to our network, our value chain coordinator. We have FarmWise value chain coordinators all across the state who can really provide support on expanding their farm, what really looking at goals, values based selling and procurement. So we want to make sure that they're provided with the resources that they need. And so I would just encourage them to check out our website. Definitely feel free to connect with us. And if they have any questions, that there's no question that's too small. We're here to help and to answer any questions that they may have. And we're really looking forward to supporting Indiana ag vet farmers and all farmers across the state.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time and thanks for joining us on this episode of the Vet Farm Network podcast. If you found it helpful, please share it with a fellow farmer or veteran who might benefit. For more resources, upcoming events, and support, please visit vetsinfarming.com, including full details on the Veteran Farmer Conference this July in Shipshewana. We've also got on-farm workshops happening all summer long, so be sure to follow Vets in Farming and Addie's Orchard on Facebook to stay connected. If you're a veteran in Indiana who wants to explore farming, join Vets in Farming. Membership is free, and if you're a veteran farmer outside of Indiana, check out our nationwide programs at addiesorchard.org. Until next time, farm on.